Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the Inclined Thinkers. I am Siddiq Amar, your chemistry teacher. Respected students, आज हम चैप्टर नंबर 5 में से जिसका नाम स्टेट्स ऑफ मैटर है we will discuss today what is a diffusion and related to this concept we will explain the diffusions. Number 3 factors affecting the diffusion, and there are 3 factors or more factors. There are 4 factors. Number 1 intermolecular forces, number 2 size of the molecule, and size of the molecules. In the size of the molecule we will discuss the larger molecules and smaller molecules, and the next one is the shape of the molecule, and in the shape of the molecule we will discuss the two things. Number 1 regular shape of the molecule and irregular shape of the molecule. Next one is the temperature, effect of the temperature on the diffusion, and the fourth one is the density of the liquid. First of all, we will see what is the diffusion. Diffusion is basically a property of the liquid in which the liquid flow from the higher concentration to the lower concentration. It is called basically a diffusion. हम ये कह सकते हैं कि जब भी कोई लिक्विड जो है वो हायर कंसंट्रेशन से, जहाँ पर उसकी क्वांटिटी ज़्यादा होती है, जब वो लोअर कंसंट्रेशन की तरफ मूव कर रहा होता है तो उसको हम डिफ्यूजन कहते हैं. Flow of liquids from the higher concentration to the lower concentration is called diffusion. Let's see the example of the diffusion. We have a water in a beaker and we just take the pen which have some ink and just drop and pour the one drop of the ink in the beaker. हमने एक बीकर लिया, बीकर में पानी डाला और उसके अंदर जो था स्याही के 1 से 2 कतरे जो थे वो इंक के या ड्रॉप जो थे वो उसके अंदर जो थे वो डिप कर दिए. अब क्या होगा कि स्लाइटली जो है, चूंकि उसकी कंसंट्रेशन ज़्यादा होती है इंक की, वो स्लाइटली जो है वो स्प्रेड होना शुरू हो जाएगी. वी हैव डिस्कस प्रीवियसली इन द प्रीवियस लेक्चर दैट दिस इज एन एग्जांपल ऑफ द डिफ्यूजन आल्सो as well as the example of the random motion. Now we are going to the wording of the explanation. Liquids molecules are always in state of the continuous motion. It's mean continuous state of motion mean random motion. They move from the higher concentration to the lower concentration. They mix up with the molecules of the other liquids so they can form a homogeneous mixture. This is a point that when two liquids are come close to each other, they chemically combine with one another and flow from the higher concentration to the lower concentration. In this condition, when the two liquids mix up with one another, then homogeneous mixture is formed. Now we are going to word the example of the ink as we have discussed and we have seen. When a few drops of the ink are added in a beaker of the water, ink molecules move around and after a while spread into the whole beaker. It's mean the ink molecules randomly moving in the beaker, so yeah, after the some time it will prevail itself into the all beakers. Yeah, thus the diffusion has taken place. The liquid diffuse like the gases, but the rate of the diffusion of the liquid is very slow. Now here is a very good question that can be asked in the question that can be asked in the examination, or that is very important according to the examination point of view, that the liquids have less diffusion as compared to the gases. So the question is that the diffusion depends upon the intermolecular forces. If the intermolecular forces are strong, the rate of the diffusion will be low, right? Now we can say that liquids have strong intermolecular forces as it has a smaller intermolecular distance as compared to the gases. So the rate of the diffusion of the liquid will be lesser than the gases as it has a less intermolecular distance and stronger intermolecular forces. Now we are going towards the factors affecting the diffusion. The first factor is intermolecular forces. As we have already discussed in the previous slide, in the example, that intermolecular forces are directly proportional to the diffusion. Respected listeners, we have already discussed that when there is a indirect relationship between the two properties or two traits, it's mean there is a different change on the both side. If the intermolecular forces are greater, then the rate of the diffusion will be low, and if the rate of the intermolecular forces are weaker, it's mean rate of the diffusion will be high. Similar in the example, there are two states of the matter. One of them is liquid and other is gas. As we are familiar in the previous lecture that intermolecular distance between the gas molecules are bigger and greater than the intermolecular distance of the liquids. So due to the stronger or greater intermolecular distance, the rate of the diffusion of the gases is high than the rate of the diffusion of the liquids due to the stronger intermolecular forces in the liquid. Now we are going toward the next point. Dear student, next point is the size of the molecule. There are two types of the size, like bigger sized molecules and smaller sized molecules. When we are saying about the bigger sized molecules are inversely proportional to the diffusion. As they have bigger size, so it will be very hard for the molecule to diffuse. So big size molecules diffuse very slowly. फॉर एग्जाम्पल हनी डिफ्यूज वेरी स्लोली इन द वाटर. शहद जो है वो पानी में बहुत देर से हल होता है. उसकी रीजन ये होती है कि उसके मॉलिक्यूल का जो साइज होता है वो बड़ा है. बट इन द कॉन्ट्रेरी आर इन द अपोजिट डायरेक्शन, द स्मॉल साइज मॉलिक्यूल्स आर डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द डिफ्यूजन. लाइक एग्जाम्पल, अल्कोहल डिफ्यूज मोर इजीली एंड क्विकली इन द वाटर. यानी जो बिग साइज मॉलिक्यूल की बात करें तो शहद जो होता है वो पानी में जल्दी हल नहीं होता. दिस इज एग्जाम्पल ऑफ द बिग साइज मॉलिक्यूल. And when we try to mix up the alcohol in the water, it can easily diffuse in the water because it has a smaller size. That is shape of the molecule. When we are saying something about the shape of the molecule, we can divide into the two parts. Number one, regular shaped molecule, and number two, irregular shaped molecule. First of all, regular shaped molecules have very slippery surface and they can move and mobile very easily. So the regular shaped molecules are directly proportional to the diffusion. If the shape of the molecule is regular, it means rate of the diffusion will also be greater. So the regular shape molecules diffuse faster as compared to the irregular shape. And the next point is that the irregular shaped molecules, as I have mentioned in the point or in the key point, that irregular shape molecules are inversely proportional to the diffusion. It's mean if the shape of the molecule is not proper or not regular, mean irregular, so the rate of the diffusion will be very slow. We can say what is the reason behind that the regular shape molecules have greater rate of the diffusion as compared to the irregular shaped molecule. The reason is that regular shaped molecules diffuse faster than the irregular shaped molecules because they can easily slip over and fast over. As I have already mentioned that regular shaped molecules have good slippery surfaces and they can move fast and they can slip fast. So the rate of the diffusion of the regular shaped molecules is greater than the irregular shaped molecule. The fourth point is also a very important, like that. What is temperature? Now we are seeing the question that what is the temperature? Temperature is basically a heat that we are providing. The degree of the hotness or the coolness is called temperature. Now the question is that what is the relationship between the temperature and the diffusion, right? The link between the diffusion and the temperature is that both are directly proportional to each other. If the rate of the temperature will be high, then the rate of the diffusion will also be a high, and vice versa. Vice versa mean when the rate of the diffusion will be low, then the rate of the temperature will also be a low. Basically, diffusion depends upon the temperature, as both are directly proportional each other. So we are going toward the wording of the slide. Diffusion increasing by increasing the temperature, because at high temperature the intermolecular forces become weak due to the high kinetic energy of the molecules. As we have already discussed, with the increase of the temperature, the kinetic energy of the molecule become increase very rapidly. So with the increase of the kinetic energy, the rate of the diffusion will be high because the intermolecular forces are weaker due to the greater distance or intermolecular distance between the molecule. Now we are going to the density. What is the density? Density, we are seeing the definition of the density. Density means mass per unit volume is called density. We can say if we have an area of the 1 centimeter cube and number of grams fit in that 1 centimeter cube is called density. So the formula of the density is equal to mass over volume. We can say D is equal to M over V. The density of the liquids depends upon its mass per unit volume. We have already clear these concepts. Now the question is that liquids are denser than the gases. Why? We have already discussed it depends upon the intermolecular forces. As we are familiar and we already know that the distance between the molecules of the liquids are lesser due to the stronger intermolecular forces as compared to the gases. Therefore, the distance based upon these distance stronger intermolecular forces of the liquids tend tend him to be a more denser. बताना ये चाह रहा हूँ कि लिक्विड के मॉलिक्यूल्स के दरमियान चूंकि इंटरमॉलिक्यूलर फोर्सेस ज्यादा स्ट्रांग होती हैं, उनके दरमियान डिस्टेंस जो है वो कम होता है। इसी वजह से जो लिक्विड्स हैं वो ज्यादा डेंसर होते हैं गैसेस की निस्बत। नाउ वी आर गोइंग टूवर्ड द वर्डिंग ऑफ द स्लाइड। Liquids are denser than the gases because of the liquids are closely packed and the spaces between their molecules are negligible. As the liquid molecules have a stronger intermolecular forces, hence they cannot expand freely and have a fixed volume. Like gases, they cannot occupy all the available volume of the container. That is the reason why densities of the liquids are high. We have already explained, and I have number of time I have explained that it all depends upon the intermolecular forces and intermolecular distance within the molecule. Now we are going to the last slide. Why the drop of the rain falls downward? It all depends upon the density. Any substance or any material which has greater density will come down from those medium or thing which have less density. मैं बताना ये चाह रहा हूँ, अगर किसी चीज की डेंसिटी जो है वो ज्यादा है तो उस मीडियम से वो नीचे आ जाएगा जिस मीडियम की डेंसिटी कम होती है। अब देखें, हमने देखा कि डेंसिटी ऑफ वाटर इज 1 ग्राम पर सेंटीमीटर क्यूब एंड द डेंसिटी ऑफ द एयर इज 0.001 gram per centimeter cube. This is the reason the drop of the rain fall downward. The density of the liquid are also vary. Reason क्या होती है? क्योंकि इसकी डेंसिटी जो वाटर होता है उसकी 1 ग्राम पर सेंटीमीटर क्यूब होती है and the density of the air is 0.001 gram per centimeter cube. This is the reason that the drop of the water always downwards due to the high density of the liquid and the density of the liquid varies. The next point is that the kerosene oil floats over the water while honey settle downwards in the water. अब सवाल ये पैदा होता है कि मिट्टी का तेल जो होता है वो पानी के ऊपर तैर रहा होता है जबकि शहद जो है वो नीचे बॉटम के अंदर चला जाता है। रीजन क्या होती है? केरोसिन ऑयल जो है उसकी डेंसिटी वाटर से कम होती है, लिहाजा वो ऊपर फ्लोट करता है, राइट। और जो शहद होता है उसकी डेंसिटी जो चूंकि ज्यादा होती है वाटर से, लिहाजा जो है वो नीचे बॉटम में चला जाता है। स्टूडेंट्स, थैंक यू वेरी मच। अगर कोई क्वेश्चन हो तो आप मुझसे पूछ सकते हैं, कमेंट्स कर सकते हैं, आप इम्प्रूवमेंट के लिए भी कमेंट्स कर सकते हैं। थैंक यू। अस्सलाम वालेकुम।